Like, I know my dad is a Russian spy, and on February 22nd, 2022, that night while I was sleeping, I was waterboarded in my sleep with a directed energy weapon. And it wasn't the first time I was waterboarded in my sleep, but often in my sleep, I would get ravenously thirsty and I would chug water, and then it would all come up and I would inhale it and I would drown. And I would survive these incidences. But also at that time, I was in excruciating pain with what was proximal hamstring tendinopathy. But my doctor, I feel, had been paid to misdiagnose me with the pain radiating from my spine. But I tried to tell the doctor it's from my hamstring tendon, and he would not treat the pain. He absolutely refused to treat the pain, and my quality of life was nothing. I said, please treat the pain. I would call him in tears, and he would say, just do what doesn't make it hurt, which was just lay in bed. And I couldn't work. I couldn't afford to eat. So I wanted to take my own life at that time. And I had made a plan, and it was the only time in my entire life I had made a plan to take my own life. And I looked and found the most successful way to take your life, and the National Institute of Health published and the Chinese people know the most successful way to end your life, and I'm not going to say how. And I was going to execute it, and that scared me. Well, that day on February 22nd, 2022, I had an appointment with my cardiologist, and I said, I'm going to see my psychiatrist. And I had an appointment with a new psychiatrist that day. And I also told her that I had drowned in my sleep, which wasn't the first time. I thought that I had acid reflux, but it was so violent, the way that the water went up and back down in my sleep. And so I went to see this new psychiatrist, and she said, you have to go to the ER. And I planned to go to Atrium Health Concord ER so that I could go to Davidson Behavioral Health Atrium, where I knew they had guards with guns, because these places are scary. Women are placed with men. You are placed with sex offenders, murderers. Anything can pop off at any second because you're with crazy motherfuckers. And I'm so traumatized that I've been told by psychiatrists in these facilities that some people are not built to be in these facilities, and you are one of them because of all the domestic violence that I have experienced. So I had a plan to go to Atrium Concord so that I could stay in the Atrium facility, because when you go to an ER in North Carolina, you can end up in any psychiatric facility in the state. It just depends on where they have a bed. So I went to the Atrium Concord, and they have their own behavioral health ER. And they took me from, and I asked them, I said, can you please have me a standing order for something for pain? And they gave me standing order for lorazepam, which is something that can be used as a muscle relaxer. The nurses refused to give me the lorazepam. They said, you can get addicted to it. You're not going to get addicted to lorazepam on a short-term basis. And they refused to give me medication that a doctor had on a standing order. And they put me in, they segregated me to another part of the behavioral health ER. A black nurse in that ER refused to give me the lorazepam, spiked my blood pressure up so high, and then started talking disparagingly about white people to other black nurses. She was being very racist and was going to restrain me. And this was the day that Russia invaded Ukraine. She targeted me, spoke racistly in front of me to other black people, and was going to restrain me and then remove me from that part of the ER to another part of the ER where a teenage girl was acting out, and then they were telling me that I was the problem, and they would not again treat my pain. And this was the day that Russia invaded Ukraine, and somehow, some way, that whole admit being waterboarded in my sleep by directed energy weapons, being refused to treat my pain, and being threatened with restraints on the day that Russia invaded Ukraine has something to do with my dad being a Russian spy.